Hi, I'm Wanda from Elaine Craft, and this is our Quilting Blocks channel. Now today we're going to do the Paths and Style block, and it looks amazing and it's so easy and quick to make. So let's get on and show you how to do it. So what do we need to make this block? Well, we need two 4-inch squares in a colour, we need two 4-inch squares in a contrast, and these are going to make up our corner pieces here, so they are half square triangles. Now I've cut this at 16, so 1.5 inches by 16 inches long. You need two pieces of white, and you want another contrasting colour, and cut that at 16 inches by 1.5 inches, and that's going to form these pieces here. Okay, so those 4 pieces plus this one in the middle. And then you've got this piece here, and I've cut it 4 inches by 1.5, so a piece of white and 2 of the green, and they're going to form these 2 pieces here. Now if you're going to be making more than one block, then you'll just cut this across the width of the fabric. So the first thing we're going to do is make our half square triangles. So what we do is we take our 4-inch squares. I'm just going to turn these 2 over, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line from point to point, okay, straight across the diagonal. I'm going to do that on both those pieces, but I'll just do it on the one for the moment. Then I'm going to take that piece and lay it right sides together on top of the contrasting piece, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch all the way down here on either side of that drawn line. Now if you look closely, you can see my 1/4 inch seam line on either side of that drawn line. So what I'm going to do now is place my ruler down the drawn line, and I'm just going to cut that, and that's going to give me 2 half square triangles. You can see here I have some already done, and I've pressed the seam to the dark side. So now I need to trim those to 3.5 inches. Now if you're not sure how to trim a half square triangle, we do have a tutorial about this, and we'll put a link in the description below. So there you are, I have my 4 half square triangles, and they've all been trimmed down to 3.5 inches square. So now we're going to go on and work with our strips. So what we do is we take the first strip and lay it over this one, and we're going to right sides together, and we're going to sew down here with a 1/4 inch seam. Now once we've done that, we'll come back and we'll do the same on this side. Okay, so we'll lay right sides together, sew down here with a 1/4 inch seam, and we're going to do exactly the same with these small strips. Okay, right sides together, sew down here, come back and sew the other side. So I'll go and do that now. So I've sewn my strips together, and now what we're going to do, well, before I do anything, I'll just show you here, I've actually pressed the seams towards the dark side on this one and also on this one. So these seams have been pressed inwards towards the dark, these ones have been pressed outwards towards the dark. So now what we need to do, we need 4 strips at 3.5, so just trim up your edge to make sure that it's nice and neat. And here we go, we're going to line that up on the 3.5 inch mark, and I'm going to line one of these lines on my sewn line. So there we go, we've got 3.5. Okay, and this all straight. And so what I need to do now is I'll cut another 3 from that, because I need 4. Now with the other one, I need 1.5. So I'll just make sure it lines up on my 1.5 line, and that I've got another line going along here that just shows that it's straight. Okay, and then I'm going to cut, I need 2 from this one. So I'll cut one, and then I'll cut another one. So I've cut those 2 1.5 inch strips, and I've got my 4 3.5 inch strips. Now what I did forget to mention is we also need a 1.5 inch strip from this one. So I'm going to cut that now. So again, just line up your 1.5 inch along the edge, and make sure it's straight. Okay, there we go. So that's all our pieces cut. So the next thing we need to do is just to lay them out in the pattern. So take your 4 your half square triangles and just lay them around. Okay, and then you've got your 3 patch, or whatever it's called, rail fence. Goes in there. and we put one of those, and the piece we've just cut. And that's it. And so now it comes to sewing it together. So now we've got all our blocks here and we're going to assemble the block. So what we need to do is form the rows. Now all of the rows, all the seams are going to be sewn with a 1/4 inch. Right, so the first thing we do is take the square, place it over this one and sew it down the side seam. When we come back and we sew that one, and that will make row 1. We'll do exactly the same with the bottom row. One on top of the other, and when that's sewn, we do it with the last one. Now the middle row, of course, has this patch in the middle here. So what we need to do is we take our first patch, lay it over the next one. Now because of how we've ironed it, you can see how nicely that butts together. So that's going to give us some really nice looking joins. So we'll sew those two together, and then we'll sew that piece on there. And that will finish that little block there. And then it's just a matter of joining these together. Okay, so that one, and of course you'll make sure that everything matches up. And because of how we've sewn it, how we've pressed it, it's all going to sit nicely. Okay, as you can see now, all the pieces have been sewn into rows. I'm just going to show you how I've ironed them. So the top and the bottom pieces, the seams have been ironed out towards the edge. And on the middle piece, the seams have been ironed towards the middle. And the reason we've done that is so that when you put the rows together, or start putting the rows together, they'll nest together beautifully because we want all those joins to look perfect. So as you can see here, they'll butt together, those seams, and when we sew them, they'll look really nice. We're going to do these 2 rows first, and then we'll come and we'll add the bottom row on. So there we have it. Our block has all come together beautifully. So if you've enjoyed this tutorial, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to check out our website at alandacraft.com, and you can follow us on Facebook and Pinterest.